Welcome everyone. Today we are going to do plant growth. So for this, in this chapter, you need to know what photosynthesis is. So photo means light and synthesis means to put things together. So here you're putting carbon dioxide and water together in the presence of sunlight in order to make sugar and oxygen. So at your level, you just need to know this word equation. Okay, so remember we did this chemical equation in the class as well. So this was basically done for your understanding that this carbon in the sugar comes from carbon dioxide, this hydrogen in the sugar comes from water, and this oxygen in the sugar comes from both the water and carbon dioxide. Okay, so you can do it yourself. This is interesting and you'll enjoy doing it. Now, there's an experimental strategy. So in order to analyze the necessity of light for photosynthesis, you can design an experiment in which your investigation can be that you want to test the necessity of light for photosynthesis. So you can put one plant in dark and the other one in light. And then for remember that for a fair test, you're going to keep one variable constant and then you're going to keep all the variable constant and will just change the one variable, right? So these variables are going to be constant: type of soil, type of plant, water and carbon dioxide, and much more. Um, then the variable that you're going to change is sunlight. Now, how are you basically going to measure that which plant photosynthesized more compared to the other plant? So for that purpose, you can see the difference in height, since more photosynthesis means more nutrients and more increase in height and growth, right? So you can measure the difference in height between the initial and the final height. You can take out that difference, or you can do a starch test in which you can see how much starch is present in each of those plants. Now you need to know the role of chlorophyll. So there are two roles of chlorophyll. Number one, it makes the plant appear green, right? And then also that it traps sunlight. So it traps sunlight, and sunlight we all know is very important for photosynthesis to take place. Now the question is that the plants with non-green leaves, do they photosynthesize as well? So the answer for that is yes, only if they have chlorophyll, right? But if they have chlorophyll, why don't they appear green? So the answer might be that there might be another pigment which for example is, if it's of red color, then it can easily hide the green color beneath. You can do it yourself. Okay, now you need to analyze the leaf for starch. So for this purpose, the first step is that you boil the leaf in a water in order to kill it. The second step is that you put that leaf in alcohol, and then you put that test tube in which alcohol is over there. Alcohol is in the beaker which contains water. Right, so why don't you directly boil the test tube on the flame of a Bunsen burner? That's because alcohol is flammable and that can easily catch fire. This step is done in order to take out all the chlorophyll from the leaf so that no more starch can be made. Then the third step is that you boil that leaf again. And why are you boiling this time? Because you want to soften the leaf. Why do you want to make the leaf soft? So that iodine can easily enter the leaf. Now you put that leaf over here and then you pour iodine solution. Now iodine is of brown color. If starch is present, it will turn blue black or dark blue, and if there is no starch present, then it will stay brown. Now you also need to know the roles of root. So root anchors plants, root anchors soil, and that can prevent soil erosion as well. Root absorbs mineral salts and water from the soil, and once it basically absorbs mineral salts and water, then it translocates mineral salts and water to the stem as well. Number 5, that it can store the food in the form of starch. Remember that the sugar that is made in photosynthesis is basically glucose. So when the plant does not need more glucose, then it stores that glucose in the form of starch. You should also understand that different plants grow in different types of soil. For this, please memorize all these characteristics. Now, cactus, why is that cactus is growing in the sand soil? That's because it does not hold water well, right? And in deserts, we all know that there's little or no rainfall. In case of rice, we all know it needs a lot of water, so this basically grows well in clay. which has the ability to hold a lot of water. Then in loam, most of the plants grow. Why? Because number one, loam has a lot of nutrients. Number two, because it can hold the water well and it can hold the air well as well. Now you should also know the role of fertilizers. So remember, fertilizers are often added to soil in order to provide plants with the nutrients that they need. Now there are two kinds of fertilizers: organic fertilizers and inorganic fertilizers. Organic fertilizers are they're basically obtained from living organisms such as animal dung or from decomposed animals and plants. Inorganic fertilizers, on the other hand, they're basically synthetic fertilizers which are made in the lab and they're made of chemicals. Now, for example, if the soil is depleted of nutrients and you want to take an immediate action, then you can use inorganic fertilizers. You should also know what hydroponics and aeroponic plants are. So aeroponic plants are in which roots are exposed to air, since aero stands for air and hydro stands for water. So in hydroponic plants, the roots are exposed to nutrient-rich water. In aeroponic plants, roots are exposed to air and it is periodically sprayed with the nutrient-rich water. Now, why did the scientists make these aeroponic and hydroponic plants? That's because due to growing urbanization, there was little land left for farms and agriculture. So aeroponic and hydroponic, since they do not require a lot of space, so they can easily be grown in rooms. So that's why they came up with aeroponic and hydroponic plants. So number one, the advantages are: number one, that it saves water because 90% of the water is recycled. Number two, it saves land as they can be grown in rooms. Number three, that temperature and amount of water can be controlled, right? Because there are going to be skilled workers over there. You're going to use machinery, so you can easily control these climatic conditions. Then disadvantages are that they can be dangerous, since water and electricity, when they come in close proximity, then there can be any spark. Then also that you need skilled workers for growing aeroponic and hydroponic, right? And they are of course going to ask for salaries as well. And third thing, that initial investment cost is high, right? In order to buy the machinery and everything. Now, interpret the mode of nutrition of carnivorous plants. So sorry about that. Okay, so carnivorous plants, carnivore stands for some organism which basically eats meat. So carnivorous plants are those plants which eat meat as well. So the question is, do they photosynthesize? Like, why do they need to eat? So yes, they do photosynthesize, but if they photosynthesize, why do they need to feed on the animals as well? That's because the soil that they live in, that is depleted of nutrients. So in order to get more nutrients, they eat the plants and they take the nutrients from them. The examples are Venus flytrap, and pitcher plant. So what can be the mode of taking out nutrients from the carnivores, such as insects and small insects? So for that, they can use a sticky substance so that insect sticks on that, or they can use misleading cues such as light. They can use the traps, so which snap shut when an insect lands on it, or they can use nectar or bright colors as well in order to attract the insect, and then they can easily digest them and take out the nutrients. So that's all.